in the end, we are all humans. And there is something about the deep nature of humanity that cannot be accessed through technology. We can access some of the intellectual ideation, as I mentioned earlier, this notion of two classes together, but the deep engagement that forces someone to step out of his or her known world into a different world and really engage that world. And I think, particularly for Americans, to begin at some point to put oneself at the margin can only be done, I think, through an immersive experience. You can discuss ideas over technology, but I don't think that deep engagement, which we need so desperately right now, can be accomplished through technology. Well, in the same way that I mentioned faculty linking up with one another, in any institution when you're trying to build international partnerships, all of the research suggests at the core of it there's a relationship between two people. Whether it's that I know the chancellor at the University of Cape Coast, and so she has the power to make something happen downline for a collaboration to develop. So I think even the institutional collaborations that we hope to build begin essentially with human beings in connection with one another. So if there is some prior connection that allows more deep, sustained kind of partnerships to be created, that's always, I think, a strong benefit. It is much harder to create those absent that kind of connection. And when you make a short visit with a delegation to a campus, that's one thing, and it can often be very successful. But if you have someone who really knows the campus, knows where the power centers are really, as opposed to where the power centers are claimed to be, the ease with which things can happen, I think, is much greater. Well, one of the things we haven't talked about is the potential impact that the sharing of information can have. And I think that there are so many of us in this country who get our information from television. And one of the things that I was very struck by, I had an opportunity several years ago to meet with some Fulbright former scholars in residence who were back in their home country. In this case, it was India. And the first thing they said was, you know, Americans are not like what we saw on television. Before we went, we anticipated a particular type of person. And that was not what we encountered. I think the reverse is also true. And so when our scholars return and are able to transform their own curriculum because of the experience, share with their colleagues and students on campus the experience, share with the larger community the experience, we're able to open more eyes. And I think that that's always really very, very critical. I also think that as the scholars exchange students in the classroom based on their lived experience abroad, that can deepen the nature of the conversations, the nature of the questions that students are asking for kind of a richer dialogue. And I think that that's very important. Well, I would really encourage my presidential colleagues and provosts to see Fulbright as an incredible opportunity and to attend to whether they're leveraging the opportunity that it provides. It is important for campuses. It is important for public diplomacy. Americans aren't what people see on television, and we have a responsibility to present a fuller picture, a more complex picture of the American experience. And I think our campus leaders can be encouraging and supportive of faculty and staff to take advantage of these opportunities, and students as well.